Today I'll be replacing the screen and frame assembly of a Galaxy S21. The back is far easier to remove than other S-series phones, as Samsung has opted to use plastic for the back panel. No glass to crack here. Here's a neat little channel of air that connects the flash module to the microphone hole, which I haven't seen on a phone before. Sound passes through the flash diffuser and is routed toward the microphone. There are 18 Phillips screws holding the 3-part mid-frame that need to be removed. The wireless charger and NFC coil pad are held in by a single Lego connector. The metal shield needs to be pulled up to access it. The bottom loudspeaker frame has an arrow designating where it needs to be pried from. Looks like a small conspiracy has been hidden inside this phone. Disconnecting the battery is pretty important. Might as well disconnect the power button and first 5G antenna next to it as well. The top midframe has a ribbon connector for the ear speaker. It can be lifted up and out safely after disconnecting that. I'll disconnect the other ribbons around the main logic board. The camera module holds the board in with a single Phillips screw. Now the board can be pulled up and out. Having multiple layers of PCB stacked for space efficiency is letting these logic boards get smaller every year. This makes room for bigger and better components like a battery or larger camera sensors. The charging board and SIM reader at the bottom is held in by 3 slightly smaller Phillips screws. Keep those separate. I'll remove the first 5G antenna off to the left side of the phone. Followed by the second on the lower right. They have a small strip of adhesive holding them in case the screws weren't enough, I guess. With the last of the ribbons removed, it's time to grab our replacement part. This is an OEM Samsung part, but it's from an international variant of the phone. This will be important in a moment. I'll get these components reinstalled. To test a hypothesis I proved on the S20 series, I'm going to leave the international version selfie camera installed. Despite other people saying there aren't any incompatibilities, I have a hunch it won't function, just like on the S20 series. Let's zoom in so everyone can see the connector is securely attached. With all essential components reconnected, let's power on the device and see if my hunch is correct. Opening the camera app, it looks like our main rear camera is functioning perfectly as it should. Flipping to the selfie results in exactly what I expected, a camera failed warning. Let's try again. Nope. I'll power it off and start extracting the cameras from the frames. They're held in with hot glue, so heating them up slightly will facilitate smooth removal. I'll put the original US version selfie camera into our replacement frame. Power it on. Open the camera app. And unsurprisingly, it works perfectly. No errors at all. Well, what if the first time was just a fluke? Maybe, despite the microscopic zooming in on the connector, that part wasn't connected properly. I'll swap them out, installing the international version of the selfie camera back in, making sure the connection is as tight as possible. Powering it back on, then opening the camera app, and wouldn't you know, the international camera parts are not compatible with US variants. You wouldn't run into this issue if you just bought the same 2 brand new phones from the same store in the same country and tried to swap them, but in the event you do repairs and work on phones from the US and use parts from another variant, you'll likely run into problems. I repair phones for a living and make YouTube videos on the side, not the other way around, so I think I've got a pretty good understanding of part compatibility, but your mileage may vary depending on where your parts come from. I'll swap them back in to prove there was no damage to the connector and that the US version still works perfectly as intended. Then I can finish off reattaching the midframe, replacing those 18 screws. I'll use some 3M tape primer to get the frame ready for the back panel. And finally, with everything reassembled, this phone is ready to go. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.